Hey guys, Jake from Walkie Farm here. And once again, we're here at Wamagama, and these cattle that got out around me yesterday and went and camped up there overnight, I was moving the fence and Mrs. Walkie called me and she stabbed herself in the kitchen. So I dropped everything and I ran up there to help her, and in the process, because I was halfway through a move, the cattle got out. But you know, when you're weighed with the options of cattle being in the wrong spot for 24 hours or your wife bleeding out, I said, is it serious? She goes, I think so. And it was a deep cut. She nicked her bone, but it stopped bleeding pretty easily. But we're not going to look at the cattle right now. I just wanted to show you this high density non-selective grazing we've done, and it looks pretty harsh, right? We've scalped the place. I want to quickly explain why we don't want our cattle to selectively graze, and it's really simple. I remember, like, when I do farm tours, people come along and they brag about how their uncle or their grandpa has a farm, and they always say, there's always these two comments which just really get me laughing. One of them is, oh, the cows have the best life because they're just in huge paddocks and they can just roam around wherever they want, and they've got so much freedom. Okay, might be nice for the cows in the short term, but your diversity in your pasture is going to suffer, and the end result of that is the cattle not having all the tools, all the plants at their disposal. And secondly, they say, oh, my uncle or my grandpa's cattle, love him. Every time we go out to see them, they come running. It's like, yeah, it's because you feed them hay. if you feed animals hay, if you feed animals, they're going to learn to come to you like pets. Guys, we don't want either of those things to happen on this property, and the cattle are quite content up there grazing. My hallmark of a happy mob who's adequately tamed is when I can come down and visit them and they neither come to me or run away from me. If they run away from you, they're scared. You need to spend more time with them. If they come to you, they're hungry, and that's okay. Sometimes they'll come up to the fence because they're ready for a move. But if they're expecting a handout, and that's something that happens all year long, there's underlying issues. Anyway, selective grazing. Simply said, if my cattle had access to this whole paddock, up and forward all the time, up and back, they would be going out chomping the most tasty bits. And they've done experiments with this. I remember Brian Welberg, who's a holistic management grazing educator here in Australia for the Savory Institute, talking about how they let cattle in a paddock at night time, and first light they went and had a look, and all the best plants, certain one variety, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a standout species in that paddock for taste and energy, they'd all gone overnight. These animals are going to roam up and down and selectively eat the best bits. Now, what's that going to do? That's going to take all those best bits out of the paddock, and if the cattle stay there because you're not moving your animals, as soon as they reshoot up and have a nice little tasty leaf available, the cattle are going to eat it, and pretty soon you're not going to have those species anymore. Great example is in this area, kangaroo grass and wallaby grass used to be prolific. They're Australian native grasses, and they don't like being overgrazed, and you're hard pressed to find them anywhere. You see them on the roadside everywhere now, and we've got a little bit at the top of our property near our chook shed where animals previously haven't been grazed. But it's disappeared because cattle, they don't know to leave a bit for later. They just want to fill up their guts, because if they don't, the cow next to them will. There's Billy the horse, and a ram I can't seem to get rid of. Came with the farm. Both of them came with the farm. So if you're selectively grazing, you're letting your cattle slowly erode and eradicate the most palatable, therefore potentially your best pastures. What happens in tandem with that is the least desirable pastures don't have any competition. So let's have a look at this paddock, and we're looking over the fence. Not to poo-poo anyone, we've all got different farms, different systems, different management styles, different goals, different context. So we never look over the fence to belittle what others are doing. And even just over this fence line to my neighbour here is a completely different part of the paddock, isn't it? We're under trees here and we're in a bit of a prairie here. But if you look at this farm where we've sprayed no chemicals in the 12 months we've been here, you'll see no purple, no Patterson's curse. That's a plant that people here in Australia hate because it overtakes their paddocks. And if the cattle are forced to eat it and they get a gutful of it, it's poisonous, it's toxic to them if it's a major part of their diet. If you look over here, folks, can you see it? It's everywhere. Now, once again, that's not to say the neighbours are doing something wrong. I don't know what their plan is, and I don't know what that looked like 2 years ago, etc. But as far as I can see, all the way to these trees, there's a purple hue. And when the cattle are in this paddock, they're normally here for quite a while. When my cattle, here's one on my side. There we go, can't let myself get away. I like having some, it's good for the bees, bit of biodiversity. Obviously, it's a pioneering species with a broadleaf. Let's show you what it looks like, because it's got a roll. The permaculturists say Mother Nature's modest, she wants to cover herself. I've got a few of them here. Hey, Miss Betsy. How's your little 4-day-old calf? Thanks for letting me get so close. You gonna eat some blue gum? Show everyone how you're a koala bear? Off you go. See that big broadleaf? This plant has a fantastic taproot, nice deep taproot, to reach those nutrients further down, and it's got a broadleaf, so it's covering up bare earth. And that's where you'll find it growing, in areas with bare ground. And the reason I believe that we have less on this side of the fence is because when the cattle were here last, they were here for a day. You can see the ground here, it's not bare, but it's lacking pasture because there's so much residue that's come off these beautiful trees. Look at that. Wow, aren't they something to behold? We are very blessed to have such amazing trees on this farm. When we've been looking for a property for years, about 4 years. Mrs. Walkie and I were looking for a property, and we had a list of things. Pays to write these things down, folks. The list of things was within half an hour of Albury, within 5 minutes of the freeway, reliable water, and trees. Didn't need a house, didn't need a shed, didn't need infrastructure. I'm very happy with how we've ended up, with where we've ended up. Look at that gorgeous tree. Bit of beautiful mistletoe there. Anyway, guys, that's a little bit of pasture talk this morning. That's done. It's nearly 7 a.m. I'm doing a podcast interview 7:15 this morning with a Bitcoiner up in Queensland. And then I'm in the truck driving down to town to load pigs. Taking some pigs for slaughter today. Look at this. Have a look here. They've already come through and they've taken the ryegrass and a bit of the clover, and they've left all the less palatable species. But if we come back this evening, this will all be gone. They'll be forced to clean it up. Have a great day.